You know who's cursed?
Sorry, we were muted.
Cincinnati
There we go.
Reds.
Now we're good.
One
Hello.
field goal away from the Natty with all of your wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs out is not cursed.
Now,
guys,
if
we
they
are
go
fine.
shank a field goal again in the semifinal
for the
next year,
for the next 25 years, yeah.
now if they do that, we can start talking again. But one time does not make a curse. Does not make a curse. So let me, the Reds are not cursed. They have cheap, terrible owners. That's different. Like, you have to.
Badly run organization is not automatically cursed.
Now, if the Bengals, if the Bengals with Joe Burrow never win a Super Bowl, but make the AFC title game in the Super Bowl, like, let's combine
every year.
Let's say in the next 6 years, they make it at least to the AFC title game and don't win a single Super Bowl. We could talk about curse because they've never won a Super Bowl, even as a franchise so far, and they've been there 3 times. So if they were to do that, we could talk about that. You could talk about the Cavs before LeBron finally won, but you can't say cursed anymore because you won. So which of your teams do you think that's cursed? For Columbus natives, it's certainly the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, it's the Blue Jackets.
That franchise sucks.
Because crew, fine.
And they have wonderful fans.
Yeah.
Which is the worst part, almost.
Oh, it is. It's because Columbus is a great sports town. It's a great city to do sports in. You hear that, Goalie Bob? Don't listen to your girlfriend next time. This is a good sports city.
I don't know. Goalie Bob's pretty happy right now. So
I know he is, but I don't care.
But
he shouldn't be.
Yeah, the Crew are infuriating. They've won 2 MLS Cups.
Not cursed.
Not cursed. Yeah, not the same thing. The Crew are actually really kind of similar to Ohio State. Like, they fit that mold pretty well. You could argue they've underachieved in the number of titles they've won, but they've won titles. So you can't really be super angry. Who do you think's cursed? Let us know. Aaron, are you going to talk about that West Virginia Penn State game? Is that what you're talking about? Is that the oh no, never mind. I somehow looked right past the black part of Black Friday.
Oh,
I'm so excited when I saw that graphic and it's like NBC and it's like, to me, like, I don't know why NBC always seems more upscale than CBS and Fox. Yeah. Like, it's almost more proper. Like, if I had to watch which I did not watch, the King's ceremony or whatever for England, I feel like I would have had to watch it on NBC. Fox or CBS would have felt wrong. Yeah. Not regal enough. So the fact that it's Penn State and West Virginia opening up on NBC just is it
week 1 Friday?
Because that's the opposite. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the opener. We got some good games to open next year. I'm really excited.
They're good in because it's like Penn State, Pittsburgh. They're not good like Georgia, Clemson or anything. Like, there's no
I don't care.
No, I don't either. Don't hear me wrong. I'm just saying the average college football fan is going to look at that and think, ugh. But
they're wrong because those Georgia, Clemson games or Florida State, Alabama usually end up being, or Oregon, Georgia, heaven have mercy, usually are absolute duds.
Yeah.
You know what are the good games? West Virginia Pitt last year.
That was incredible.
Man.
That game was so good.
That was awesome. Give me all of that. And next year, play that game in Paris. When the women's basketball team was announcing that game was being played in Paris, I thought it was college football at first and was absolutely thrilled because we were going to give like a backyard brawl to Paris, France, which does not compute in my brain.
No, they don't deserve
it. That would they don't. But I just want to
we barely deserve it.
Can we ship all the fans over there to just invade Paris? And the French will probably cut off diplomatic relations with us. But it would be really funny for the Vine.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm good if you guys are.
I am good.
All right. Let me record. And here we go.
Recording.
Check.
Good.
Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I am joined, as always, by my good friends Josh and Johnny. We are back for another episode. Gentlemen, it's good to be back with you. Josh, it was good to see. By the way, listeners, hello. I didn't leave you out. Hello, listeners. We love you and appreciate you. But today I'm more excited because Johnny and I both got to see Josh this week live in the flesh. Josh, it was good to see you, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. It was nice to know that. I'm sure for you guys, hold on, I'm going to do that again. It was great to see you both as well. Being back up in Ohio for the first time in 2 or 3 years. It was very nice to be back. Brought back all of the feels, all of the nostalgia. I will say, man, sorry, very tired. Lots of extra cuts in this one today. I'm just gonna do one more take. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Big day. I am doing well. It was good to see you guys as well. I was back up in Ohio for a graduation, and it was good just to be back on the old stomping grounds and see all of the things that have changed on our campus. I think I have a pretty unique perspective in that, once I left college, man, everything just changed. And it's weird to go back. I feel like no one else has had this experience before.
No, this seems unique.
To be the first person to experience something like this is incredibly humbling. So I am, the first person to recognize progress in my small college town. Is really unique and such a cool thing to experience. So yeah, it was really nice to be around again. I really appreciate that you guys can see me as a real person and not some sort of AI constructed chat bots.
We were getting worried.
Just in case. I was talking about Bing Bot for quite a few weeks in a row, so I know you guys got worried.
Right, that you were in fact being bought, that that your body was just I don't know, it was just being used by being bought, which honestly that's where this is all going anyways. I think we all recognize that, but
to be simply a meat suit used by Bing bots, not the worst way to go.
No, it's not.
No, that's absolutely the worst way to go. That's terrible, Josh. That's a hellscape. There's been several movies about why that's terrible. Scientists, we don't need dinosaurs or woolly mammoths back. We also don't need robots, not even just robots that are smarter than us. We don't need them as smart as us. Dwight Schrute in The Office, he was at least smart enough to say, make sure you only make it 3/4 my size. 3/4. Stop it, scientists. We don't need this. You are bringing the end upon us. And with that, welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Welcome to this sports podcast. Robots will take over your body.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome, everyone. By the way, if you're not joining us on YouTube, where we live stream most every episode, I say every episode, we did not stream last week because I was in Vegas, but you could join us over there because before we hit record on this podcast, we talk about just stupid stuff like this for like 15 minutes, which is what we just did. So we made we're really changing the world, one dumb internet tweet or something like that at a time. But yeah, welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. A lot to get to today. Per usual, lots of sports happening. Lots of scandals happening, apparently. That's all coming up. Before we get into kind of some of the more chaotic bit of sports news that's dropped in the last, 24, 48 hours, let's get into the NBA playoffs. I know we've been talking about that the last couple of weeks, but we're getting closer and closer. The teams are dwindling down. We're in game 4s of the conference semifinals. And really, all 4 series, at least as we're sitting here recording on a Monday night, are intriguing, are close. Some are tied. It's interesting. Let's start in the East. Knicks, Heat, Miami. The Heat win game 3 at home. Jimmy Butler, we speculated whether he would or would not play game 2 last week. He did not with that ankle injury, but returned in game 3. Honestly, looked really good. You could barely know he was even injured. He was back to his usual playoff Jimmy ways. The Heat got the victory. They lead 2-1. Game 4 is tonight. So I'll say, yeah, I just gave this whole spiel about, hey, all these series are really good and really close. Miami could kind of put this series out of reach, certainly, with a game 4 win at home. I kind of expect them to do that, guys, because I don't know how they keep doing it, But this Miami Heat team with 7 I know they've said it a bazillion times on the broadcast, but it's worth repeating again. With 7 players on this roster who weren't even drafted, they've taken on the character of Jimmy Butler. They've taken on the character of Eric Spoelstra. They are forcing, outside of game 2, they are forcing the Knicks, and they did this to the Bucks, to play their style, which is a physical, muddy, kind of gross looking game at times, but they can get in the paint. They are just incredible defensively. They figured out offense well enough after being the worst scoring team in basketball this season. It's kind of amazing what this Miami Heat continues to do. It looks like, at least, again, from our vantage point here on Monday night, that the Heat are destined for the Eastern Conference Finals as an 8 seed. Unbelievable.
Aaron, it feels like we're back in the bubble.
Doesn't it?
And
a little bit.
No Mickey Mouse this time. And it looks like the Lakers, Anthony Davis looks healthy and ready to go with the Lakers. When he's on, that the Lakers look really, really difficult to beat. And the Heat, Jimmy Butler's going berserk over there, and you have Strus and Vincent and these guys, Caleb Martin, just going crazy for the Miami Heat. I absolutely love it. I love this Heat team's just built for the playoff. In the playoffs, it slows down. The refs don't want to call a lot of ticky-tack fouls, but they'll call them in the paint, so they'll get to the free throw line. It's funny that you mentioned that the Heat are forcing the Knicks to play a physical style, because that's what the Knicks want. The problem,
but not like
on
this,
the Knicks,
though. The Knicks want to get out and run, and Miami's doing a really good job of stopping. I know what you're saying. That's the way they've played, but this is Miami's style. They're controlling it.
Right. And the problem with the Knicks, though, is, okay, you're going to play this big physical style, but the only way the Knicks can score is by bullying people. Well, now you can't bully the Heat anymore like you did the Cavs.
Yeah.
I say that with pain. You can't bully the Heat like you did the Cavs. So now who can get their own shot? One guy. You have one guy on the Knicks in Jalen Brunson who can actually create his own shot. And that's an absurd statement, because you would think that the Heat would be the team with that problem, and they're absolutely not. And Jimmy and Kyle Lowry and all these undrafted guys, dang it, man, they move that ball well and can get guys open looks, and the Knicks just can't do it. You know, we talk about how rough the Heat have been on offense, but defensively they are also so good. So that also has to be spoken of. And the pace that they play just also doesn't lend them to scoring 120 points in a game, even in the regular season.
Right.
That's just not their style. So, well, yes,
which is fine.
their offense does have flaws.
However,
but I think it's overdone with their offensive struggles, just because at the pace that they play does not lend itself to a lot of points either.
Absolutely. I mean, and they scored I believe a historically low 86 points in game 3.
Yeah.
Which again is going to get you nowhere when it comes to playoffs. And unfortunately, it's probably going to get slightly worse. You hope not. But Emmanuel Quickly is officially listed as out, and he was a solid bench option.
Yeah,
I believe third year in the league. That left ankle is still bothering him. So there is, at the pace they're playing, the way they are letting Miami control the tempo, I do not realistically see a way out for them. Now,
it feels like they just have to win this game. Yeah, you're right, Josh. Congratulations, New York.
Congratulations, Knicks. You just won the Natty. I want
no, not a chance. I think the Heat are probably going to beat the winner of Philly or Boston at this rate.
I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger on that yet.
I'm ready to pull the trigger on that. If Jimmy's ankle's healthy, I really think that. Which of the 4 teams left do you trust? 2 minutes left in the game. It's within 5 points.
Fair.
I really don't think anybody's picking anybody other than Miami.
Yeah.
Boston looks like no one except Marcus Smart wants the ball. Like, how does Marcus Smart always take the last shot? This man averages like 11 points a game, and I know he was wide open at the end of regulation. So I understand. But it always seems to be Marcus Smart taking the final shot, and it's not Marcus's fault. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, where are you at, guys? I don't think Jaylen Brown took it. Sorry, I didn't mean to shift over to the
it's okay.
Celtics 76ers.
Yeah. Series tied 2-2.
Jaylen Brown
sitting
didn't
here.
take a shot in overtime, I believe.
That's probably true.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Him and Jason Tatum are too good to evaporate like that. Like, Tatum was awful in the first half. Awful. But at least the guy had 10 rebounds and kept shooting. You know, he's like 0 of 8. But he kept going. Like, you have to stay aggressive. You're too good to just, it's not my night, I guess. Let's let somebody else take the shot. No, you're too good. And he showed that in the third and fourth quarter when he figured it out. Mm-hmm. You have to stay aggressive. And the Celtics team is too good to not be in the NBA Finals again this year with the Bucks out. It was one thing if they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, you know, because they beat them last year and Chris Middleton was hurt. So if you lose to the Bucks this year, so be it. But there's no reason this roster, it's clearly the best roster, deepest roster of the 4 teams left, in my opinion. There's no reason that this team shouldn't be back in the NBA Finals. And down the stretch in close games, they look lost. And I know rookie head coach probably doesn't help, but they look lost down the stretch. Mm-hmm. Now, they might, in game 5, they might kill Philly by 30 points. They might. Wouldn't surprise me. But if it's close at the end, and gosh, I never thought I'd say this about a James Harden team.
Right.
I trust James Harden and the 76ers more because they at least want the shot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, James wants the shot. He will take the shot. He has no problem with taking the shot. He's hit the shot now in game 1 and in game 4 to win that game.
Johnny, so you and I were talking on Friday because as of Friday, Philly had just lost game 3 in a pretty depressing manner. And I was talking about James Harden. I'm like, yeah, 41 points in game 1. That's great. He was abysmal in game 2 and 3. To the point where not only was he missing shots, not only was he so tentative that he was giving up layups, it almost gave you shades of Ben Simmons the way he almost was scared to shoot, but he has a terrible attitude at times, plays absolutely no defense, there's rarely any hustle. And I was going to get on this podcast, get on this show, assuming the Celtics claimed game 4, and say James Harden is killing Philly. And instead he drops another 40-point game, has heroics at the end of regulation, obviously hits another game winner in overtime. And it's one of those things where, yeah, that's still true. He was terrible in games 2 and 3, but he was fantastic in game 4, fantastic in game 1. Guys, the Boston Celtics would have swept the Philadelphia 76ers without the play of James Harden in 1 and 4. Now, it's weird, kind of bipolar. We'll see what happens in game 5. But I went from saying James Harden is terrible, he's washed, he looks like he's 43 even though he's only 33, and instead this series is tied 2-2. Now I still think Boston probably finds a way, but which team has more pressure right now, Boston or Philly? The answer is absolutely Boston. Boston is feeling way more pressure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Philly, you can do yourself some good and maybe don't blow a double-digit lead if you can help it, but I think that's just how they work, because apparently the only way they can win is blow a double-digit lead and then hit a dagger at the end of the game. Whatever works. They've won 2 of the 4 games.
The stress helps you focus.
Yeah.
That's what
guys, we're all missing, and I forgot this when I declared Miami to the NBA Finals. The 76ers are the only Philadelphia team that hasn't made the finals and lost.
Mm-hmm.
They're next. So, well, I'm sorry, Flyers, whatever.
Well, right.
76ers, it's your turn. Get to the NBA Finals and lose in heartbreaking fashion. So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe they're just going to drag out this dagger to the heart to Philadelphia.
Yeah, maybe so. I will say for Miami, again, what they've done is incredible. If they win this series and move to the Eastern Conference Finals, even if they win it, they move on to the NBA Finals. That's incredible. It won't totally shock me, but at some point, does the depth of not having Victor Oladipo and Tyler Hero finally catch up to them? Maybe not. Maybe the answer is just no, because they've been so good and their bench has been good. They're getting contributions to different players seemingly in every night. Sometimes it's Duncan Robinson, who his role had been drastically reduced since the bubble. He's played key minutes. He's knocked down some triples. So it could be anybody, but That's an
And
interesting
let's give
question.
credit where credit's due, though, because everybody gives Jimmy Butler credit, and he completely deserves that. As do these players. To not be drafted and work your butt off, like to have a significant role on the team. Who cares if you're starting? To
Right.
play real minutes in the playoffs. Congratulations, Eric Spoelstra.
Oh yeah.
Like we just don't talk about him enough. This is all him. It's him, and it's Jimmy Butler, and I'm sure Kyle Lowry is a part of this culture as well. There is a set standard. You would think culturally and mentally, this is a New York, a Boston, we're a Midwest tough as nails type of team. It's in Miami. It's in South Beach. Like it's honestly absurd but the Miami Heat culture is so good. I think Tyler Hero, his like second or third year, got a little off the rails, and then they reined him back in. Like that's the only instance I've really seen of a Miami Heat player really like just kind of not syncing with the culture. And Eric Spoelstra just deserves so much credit for his adjustments and getting these teams ready and the development of these players. I think we also forget. Remember, college basketball is a lot of one and dones, a lot of 2-year players. They're not fully developed. These are 19, 20-year-old kids that these NBA coaching staffs are getting. They're the ones responsible for really developing a lot of these players. And so there's a lot of quality in that second round, in that undrafted space, because guys just at 20, 19, 20 years old, they're not fully developed. And so if you can find some diamonds in the rough and you have a great culture and great support staff, you can develop these guys into significant, really, really good role players. That's what Miami Heat and Eric Spoelstra has done. So congrats to them. No matter what else happens this season, like it's been a huge success in my opinion.
Yeah.
Assuming you beat the Knicks.
Yeah, right. We're assuming here, and that's always dangerous on this show. Mike is joining us on YouTube. Mike, thanks for being here. He asked a really good question. He says, Celtics fan here, they are really young, and Missoula is learning too. Why is Horford not playing under the net defensively more? I'll give my thought on this, because that's a good point. I think a lot of it is what the Sixers are doing on offense. Joel Embiid makes his living in the paint, certainly. But watch how many times Joel Embiid is the focal point of a pick and roll to get him a mismatch, because not only is he excellent just getting the ball in the post, turning, just jamming the ball down the other team's throat, punching it in, dunk, whatever. His mid-range game is exceptional. I don't know if there's a shot more automatic in the NBA right now than Embiid catching the ball just above the elbow, making a couple dribbles, turning and hitting that little mid-range like 13, 14 feet from the elbow. I mean, it's almost, it really is unstoppable. You just hope he misses.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. It's part of the action that the Sixers are doing. Part of it too is, I mean, you're also trying to protect Horford a little bit from foul trouble, because Joel Embiid's just going to go right through you. And yes, the Sixers draw a lot of free throws. I believe they were only second to the Lakers this year in that category. But all of these fouls, for the most part, except for an occasional James Harden flop, these are legitimate fouls. I know Joel Embiid falls down all the time, and it gets to the point where it's annoying. But most of them, I'd say 90% of them, are legitimate fouls, and he's been told by doctors to do that to help him play longer. And it's worked moderately well. He's played more games in the last few seasons than he did. I mean, think about it. He missed his first 2 seasons of his career. So that's probably part of it. I'm sure there's more nuance to it. Certainly, I'm not going to pretend to be an NBA coach, but the way my relatively untrained eye sees it, that's a big part, because they love putting, I mean, that Joel Embiid, James Harden pick and roll. That is difficult to guard, to say the least.
Aaron, wouldn't you also say it's the Celtics trying to drag Joel out of the paint also?
Right.
When Philly's on defense, when the Celtics have the ball, Al Horford is actually a pretty good 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can drag Joel Embiid out of the paint, you're pulling the main shot blocker away, and you're taking him away and giving yourself more chances for offensive rebounds. So it's also by design offensively when it comes. And Al Horford's, like, his game isn't necessarily let me post up and the offense runs through me either. So
right.
You drag Joel out and you're opening up lanes for driving and kicking, which honestly the Celtics have been really, really good at. I would argue at times they've just been so hot and cold from the outside. Marcus Smart hit that three, technically. I mean, he's wide open. Should have hit the three. You're up 3-1 in the series, and the series is over at that point. So that's also part of it, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move over to the West because there's two more series we got to talk about. Some extracurriculars, if you will, some drama. But let's start with the Warriors-Lakers. We talked about it last week. Sad, like the beam, Sacramento. We're sorry you're not here. But this Warriors-Lakers series has lived up to the hype. Not necessarily in how the games have been, because two of them of the three so far, again, game 4 tonight, but they've been blowouts. But it's just the fact that you're seeing LeBron and Steph Curry and kind of these matchups of old, and not that old, right? We're only a handful of years ago where the Cavs and Warriors doing having a duel every year in the NBA Finals. Let me say this. I'll say this about the Los Angeles Lakers. Anthony Davis is clearly the key to this team. When he's playing well, this team can win a championship, and I have no question about that in my mind. But his consistency has been questionable at best. Anthony Davis, in odd games of the series, meaning games 1, 3, 5, is averaging 27.8 points per game, 16.8 rebounds, and shooting 57%. During even games, games 2, 4, and 6, 13 points, 10 rebounds per game, and 40.4 field goal percentage. Don't ask me. I don't know how he has managed to have that significant of a split. It doesn't matter. The point is, if Anthony Davis is playing well, the Lakers have the capability of winning a championship, and I dare say that Anthony Davis is a better center than Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic when he's playing that well. He is the key. I understand you have LeBron on your team, but the Lakers championship run will go through Anthony Davis, and it's just a matter of if he can play consistently, if he can play well, because when he's on, he's been incredible on both ends. Because not only can he erase shots, he can get up the court so fast. And the transition offense between LeBron and Anthony Davis is flat out scary. Plus, add Dennis Schroeder, who's maybe the fastest point guard in the league right now. That team can be really scary if he's playing on his game. It's just kind of been a matter of, all right, what Anthony Davis is going to show up tonight. Are you going to get odd Davis or even Davis, apparently?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think this goes to our point. I believe we made this point last year. At least I started observing the trends. We are moving away from like teams trying to win with like the one big star or the two big stars if they can manage it. We are seeing here evidence that the reality is that basketball being a team sport still requires the full team participation, just like we just talked about with Miami and Jimmy Butler. The team still surrounding themselves around the play style of Butler. The reality here is too, you can have, and again, this is also just me maybe projecting my sadness over the Mavs. You can't just have one star player drop 55 and expect anything to happen. We're gonna talk about that in the next series. But the reality is, you need more than one person to contribute and contribute consistently. You have 5 people on the court. Here's a big idea. All of them can contribute. That's a cool idea.
I don't know.
This is weird. And again, it seems very basic since we're talking about the cream of the crop as far as, even international basketball is concerned, all coming here for the NBA. However, the reality is teams cannot win if they're relying on just one or even two players just to shoot up every shot possible.
Right.
Without any other idea of what the fundamentals would look like. So the way that we're talking about this, Anthony Davis, if the Lakers are to be the best team in the league, it requires the consistency from everybody.
Yeah.
Mavs, please hear me. And I know you're trying, but try better. Try better. It's not just Doncic. It's everybody else.
Yeah.
Thank you and good night.
Josh, you're right. Think about D'Angelo Russell started that game with like 12 straight points. LeBron was honestly really passive from a shooting perspective in the first quarter, but it was because he was distributing, had like 5 rebounds, 5 assists in the first quarter. I know the announcers were like, why isn't he shooting? Because he didn't have to, because LeBron has played more playoff games than anyone ever will, probably ever again. He understands better than all of us.
Smart.
He's so smart. There's no hurry with LeBron. There's no anxiety. He's just the consummate professional. the best of all time, in my opinion.
The amount of games, and I believe it's the streak now, the streak of games that LeBron has had. This is just a fun little fact, where he has scored double-digit points is longer by 100 games than the amount of games that Michael Jordan played in the NBA.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wizards included. Like,
No, but Josh, that's a negative for LeBron. Don't you know that?
LeBron, because he's been here since. Yeah, cool. I please unsubscribe.
Somehow that's a negative. Don't you know?
Yeah. His career would have been so much better if he lost in the first round a bunch more.
He should have. Why didn't he just lose to the Wizards in Gilbert Arenas a few times? That would have been better.
That would have been character building. Oh my goodness. But no, this goes to, again, we're not going to talk about GOAT discussion. We're going to talk about the experience that LeBron brings. LeBron has been the solo guy. LeBron had to be the solo guy for so many years at the Cavs because they refused to do anything. I'm bringing back the Mavs again. He had to be the solo guy.
Right.
And to be fair, it got them always to a pretty defined ceiling, but a relatively high ceiling given the rest of the team's skills around him. The reality is, LeBron knows when it's time to go off and on his own, and when it's time to actually be like a game maker. And you're seeing LeBron as the mature game maker here versus LeBron, the 23-year-old, just massive shooter.
Yep. How many star players do you see press? Like they just press. Aaron, the word you used, anxious, is very good.
Absolutely.
They're like, oh my gosh, I haven't scored yet, and we're like 5 minutes into the game. It's like, well, that's okay. Like LeBron's realizing, oh, D'Angelo's got it tonight.
Yeah,
sweet. I'll wait. He also understands I'm 38 years old. I can't go 100 miles per hour the whole game. I can't do it. So I will time and wait my turn to do so when it matters most. There's a couple things that they've been talked a lot about in the series, and I want to mention. One is, and this isn't Lakers Warriors specific, just a universal truth in the NBA playoffs. Role players play exponentially better at home. Yep. It's just true. They're comfortable. They shoot on those rims all the time. The crowd is behind them. There's energy, elevation. It's just true. So D'Angelo Russell, while a solid role player, will not play that good in Game 5. He just won't. It won't happen. Talk about Nuggets Suns. Landry Shamet will not look like the second coming in Game 5 in Denver. It won't happen.
Yeah.
Like it just won't. It just won't. And so that doesn't mean like role players can't have good games on the road. Absolutely not. But you're not going to get like 4 different role players all in double figures typically on the road. That just doesn't happen very often. And so like that's just something to keep in mind when you see, these are long series, some of these. When you see the back and forth, a lot of it just has to do with that. The stars, a lot of times, are remaining fairly even, not necessarily Anthony Davis in this sense, or James Harden, as we've been mentioning. But even on a bad game, they're getting 20 to 28 points. A role player is, hey, I shot 7 of 10 from 3 tonight.
Yeah.
And then they only shot the ball like 4 times on the road, and they were 1 of 4, and they hardly existed. So that's just true. Another thing is, refs don't want to call a lot of ticky-tack fouls out on the perimeter. They want to call them in the paint when you get clobbered. I'm hearing all of the Warriors, oh, the NBA, it's rigged. They want the Lakers to win. They're trying to extend the series. Nobody shoots more jumpers than you guys.
Yeah.
Did you play basketball growing up? Refs, you're going to have, this is just true. More fouls are called in the paint than on the perimeter. So if you're driving constantly, if you're dishing, and the Lakers are playing through Anthony Davis in the paint, LeBron is driving to the rim. Aaron, you mentioned Schroeder driving to the rim. They're not a good 3-point shooting team. They're cutting to the rim. They're shooting jumpers. They're posting up Anthony Davis. They're going after them. Golden State's chucking up threes, which is what they do. That's okay. But then don't cry, I'm not getting foul calls. Well, you're just not going to get as many when you're jacking up jumpers.
Or
it just isn't going to happen.
Or you're not getting as many foul calls when you're getting outworked by the Lakers like you
That
did in
too.
game 3. I don't expect that to happen in game
Yep.
4. Again, you'll know how that game goes before this podcast is even out.
Mhm.
But that's a reality too. The team that hustles
Warriors
more is
probably
just
win.
going to draw. Yeah, I absolutely think so. Anthony Davis, game 4, who knows? Maybe he looks like DeAndre Ayton out there, right?
Yep.
The reality is, if you hustle more, you are going to draw more fouls. Partially because physically speaking, the other team will foul you more because they're not playing as hard, so they have to reach in, they have to go over the back, whatever it is. But part of it is the subconscious of the refs will call it in your favor if you are outworking the other team. And that was the case in game 3 and in game 1 for the Lakers. And that's why you saw such a huge free throw disparity. Also, the Lakers are just way bigger than the Warriors
Yep.
are.
Much bigger.
That's why Anthony Davis had so much success in game 1 and 3, partially because he's insanely talented when he's healthy and when he's working hard. But Draymond Green's too small. And Kevon Looney,
he got
as
in
much as
foul
I
trouble,
love the
too.
guy, yeah, he foul trouble, technicals, you name it, too small. And as much as I love the guy, Kevon Looney, number one, seems like he's running out of gas slightly, but he's too slow to keep up with Anthony Davis's athleticism. So it's a real
He can't
problem.
score either.
And he can't score, yeah. Unless it's an offensive rebound.
No, it's.
But
I've loved. We're going to talk about LeBron and Anthony Davis because they're Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But Darvin Ham, again,
Yeah.
I already use this phrase earlier. The Lakers could lose this series, and what an incredible job he's done.
Mm-hmm.
This was a tire fire last year, and then you handed him a brand new team after the trade deadline. Basically, a brand new team. And this team is not only viable, it potentially could win an NBA championship.
Yep.
Even if they lose the series, I don't think I'll take back that sentence.
Yeah.
Is there anyone left that you're like, oh, they're a million times better than the Lakers? The Lakers couldn't beat them in a series. I don't see anyone like that.
Yep.
I don't really see any team that almost couldn't. There's, other than the Knicks, maybe. I don't think there's a team that really can't win an NBA championship that's left out of these 8 teams. So Darvin Ham's done a brilliant job. This is one of the best defensive teams in the entire league. I believe they have the best record in the NBA since that trade deadline. And so he has done a brilliant job working to their strengths. Warriors went extra small with Draymond at the 5 in game 2. And in game 3, they said, fine, you're going to take Looney out and put Draymond out there on Anthony Davis. We're going to draw fouls from him, and we're going to pound it inside. Because if you're that small, I mean, you got Rui Hachimura in there. He's a bit taller than everybody else, too.
Yeah, right.
LeBron's just as big as Draymond, basically, so you throw him down there. So hats off to him. He has looked anything but a rookie coach this year with the Lakers. He's been a steadying force in otherwise chaotic franchise recently.
Yeah. Well, the other series is the Suns Nuggets, and we're running out of time to talk about them.
Sorry.
And, no, it's okay because that series is tied 2-2.
Thankfully,
So
nothing has happened in that series at all. Nothing at all.
yeah, nothing like an owner just
Ignore the title of the YouTube stream. Ignore the title of the podcast. Nothing has happened.
Yep, nothing at all.
It's a good title, Josh. Nothing has happened.
That's a new band name, I call it.
Dang it.
I'll say this real quick because we do need to move on because there's a bunch of other random stuff happening in sports that I feel like we should talk about. But partly we'll move this to next week because this series is tied at 2, so we'll get to talk about it. We're at least guaranteed a game 6. Feels like kind of a game 7 kind of series. Jokic has 53. Somehow that's not the biggest story because, number one, the Suns won the game because Devin Booker has been lights out. Kevin Durant is starting to fill out his role better, it seems. Also, being at home helps. The big story was the scuffle that happened between Jokic and really the Suns owner. Look, I know Marcus Smart has had some incredible flops in his career. None better than Matt Ishbia, the recently new Phoenix Suns owner, flopping. Yes, Jokic kind of pushes him, but anyways. So that's a whole thing. There's conversation. Should Jokic be suspended? I think it's ridiculous to even talk about that. No, he should not.
Fine him
Jokic
if you
did
want.
not- in the
Don't
heat of the
affect
moment,
this series.
in the heat of the moment, I'm going to assume that you are not processing. I don't know if NBA players have a requirement to memorize the faces of all of the owners who would have
I
been
would think not.
courtside. In the heat of the moment, he is another fan. Uh, was there a bit of heat in his interview? Of course. He talks. He declines to say his name and goes, "Oh, he just just another fan." But the reality is that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Until proven otherwise, until revealed later to him, I'm sure when he was on the bench, hey, that was the owner, man. Like the reality is, it's just another fan who seems to be holding the ball for no good reason during live play.
In fairness,
clock
Josh,
yeah.
the players are told not to go get the ball
Of course,
from
of course.
if a fan is holding the ball. So they are told that.
Of course.
So that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I'm kind of okay with a potential fine if you want to fine both of them.
Yes. Absolutely. They have spare balls for this. You'll get the time back.
Yep.
It was near the end of the second quarter. This was not a make or break situation. So was it unwise? And I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe Jokic has a history of hot-headedness. I was trying to do some history.
It runs in the family a little bit, but
exactly. So the reality is,
Hey, be careful, Aaron.
No, I know they're busting down my door as I speak.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that. I don't mean that in like a bad way either. Like, you're right,
No.
Josh. Yeah, there's
a perhaps a boldness.
Yeah, that's a good word.
That is presented in him so far. So is it surprising for him, given how he's acted in the past? Probably not. Was it the wisest move? Again, no, because the play had already kind of been stopped. There was a big delay. I want to say a 3 to 5 second delay between who got thrown in. I'm trying to see who got actually thrown. It doesn't matter. As someone's trying to get off, like he kind of stood around for a few seconds and then was like, "Oh, I guess I'm going to go grab the ball now." In the same time, the refs were most likely throwing another ball into the court and figuring out, what the next step was going to be. Unwise decision, absolutely. Suspendable offense. I mean, even Ishiba is like, no, this isn't a suspense offense.
Right.
Like, this isn't a suspendable
Because he doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to have that reputation already. Like, he just got there.
He's going to have to take, well, as an owner too, he's going to have the gracious take here. At the same time, it wasn't, again, it was unwise, not suspendable. This wasn't, this wasn't a brawl. This wasn't anything
nothing
like that. It was nothing. It was something for us. Yeah. It was something for three white guys to talk about on a podcast for about 10 minutes across the nation the next day, and we're going to forget it by next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nothing. You can't take the best player out of the series and affect like the outcome so severely for something that was utterly meaningless. Mm-hmm. This is not a kick to the groin.
No.
And even then, even if it was a kick to the groin, they still probably wouldn't suspend him for a game. The only reason that happens to them is because you have a reputation of doing so. So
right.
Don't affect the series like this. Devin Booker's been otherworldly.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. He's been shooting like 70%, which hats off to him. My concern and why I'm really still not that worried about the Nuggets, it took every bit of that for them to win game 4. Every bit of it. And no Chris Paul. I don't see it as sustainable for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Not saying that they won't still play brilliantly, but literally if Devin Booker shoots 55% from the field, which is still really good, they lose. They lose right now. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant have to be almost perfect, it feels like right now, because this team has no bench. They have no depth. DeAndre Ayton is also hot and cold. Now Cameron Payne's your starting point guard, which he's a wonderful man off the bench, but I don't know if you really like him as your starting point guard. I think when this series goes back to Denver, I think Denver is going to clean them out game 5, and I wouldn't be surprised if they even take out Phoenix in game 6. They just have too much depth, and that depth didn't play particularly well in game 4, and it still took everything Devin Booker and Kevin Durant had. So I wouldn't be shocked if it goes to 7, but I still feel really strongly about Denver winning this series.
Johnny, who has more, and maybe a one-word answer, who do you think has more pressure on them in that series, Denver or Phoenix?
actually really don't think there's a lot of pressure for either team.
Okay.
But I guess I'd say Denver.
I would too.
slightly.
Only because of they're the top seed, their past playoff history. But
I think they're
I
finally
agree it's
healthy.
close. Yeah, right.
So I think because they're finally healthy, there's some pressure. Like, hey, you made the conference finals last time you were healthy, and you were really young, so we thought that was great. You're finally all healthy again 3 years. I think it's 3 years later.
Yeah.
And really, you could argue the title race is kind of wide open. Here's your shot, man. Go take it. And if they beat Phoenix, I think they have a great chance to beat the, old Lakers, even though we are just pumping them up, or the old Warriors. They're both kind of old. So
Yeah, they are. Well, okay. So bottom line, not a huge scandal there. But if you're like, oh man, I like a good scandal. Oh, are you in the right place? Oh boy. Well, I've heard betting in baseball is bad. There's a reason Pete Rose is banned from baseball. And what he did might have been less bad than what happened in Alabama.
You can bet in baseball. You cannot bet in baseball if you own the team
Oh.
or our coach. Like Aaron, you as Aaron
Yes.
could go down and bet
Correct.
on a game if you wanted to.
Yep.
If you were, say, the coach of an Alabama baseball team who sat their starting pitcher because of injuries.
Yeah, Josh, you're
against the number one team in the SEC.
In the country, I believe.
Oh, country.
Yeah.
Oh, well, to the SEC, what's the difference?
Good point.
Perhaps betting against your own team is not great.
But Josh, he didn't bet against his own team. He informed someone to bet against his own team with inside information. That's not bad.
No, that's not so
fine.
bad.
Somebody else bet.
He's helping out a friend.
You wouldn't arrest the guy for delivering drugs from one guy to another, would you?
See, exactly.
Breaking Bad was such an unrealistic show. Anyway.
Yeah, well, you guys said it. That's the story. Alabama coach Brad Bohannon was promptly fired, and several states have removed Alabama games from the betting menu. Now, one might think, okay, well, Alabama, kind of dumb of you. The SEC's really into baseball. LSU is the number one team in the country. The SEC baseball tournament happens in a couple weeks. We'll talk a little bit more college baseball as we get closer to the College World Series. That's an event that's near and dear to my heart as kind of the resident baseball fan or fanatic, if you will. We're all baseball fans, but I'm kind of baseball sicko. Anyways, but we couldn't just end there. A couple teams saw Alabama having some fun and said, "Oh, wow,
I would looks like involve myself in scandal."
Yeah. So I don't know if we know as many details, but Iowa is reporting. Oh, Johnny, breaking news.
Yeah, just a few minutes ago.
Hit me with it.
Iowa and Iowa State are reporting on potential violations and gambling from multiple sports now.
Oh.
So we still did. Originally, it was just baseball, I believe, with both of these schools.
We've expanded.
Of course, at first I thought, oh, this is somehow based on like last season's like Iowa football team, and Brian Ferentz has been in on this. That explains everything. Explains everything about Iowa's offense. No, It was baseball, but maybe it's across potential other sports as well. And we're going to see a lot more of this, guys. Like, I hate to say that, but like it just opened up for like another wave of states. Me and Aaron are here in Ohio. It just opened for us this year, January 1st. Unfortunately, this is probably just the beginning because we haven't even gotten around to football season yet. And so we're going to see a lot of this. I know they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds. Not that because professional athletes would never do such a thing.
Right.
Aaron's shaking his head.
Certainly. Stupid line.
But I worked in compliance. I have to believe these compliance directors are pounding the table, telling these kids, don't bet on anything, not even other sports. Don't touch it. We're asking for 1, 2, 3, 4 years for you. Well, unless you're, I don't know, Sam Hartman. You're here for 8 years.
Yeah.
But everybody else, 4 years. We're asking you not to do it for that length of time. Just don't touch it. Don't get anywhere near it. You can do it the rest of your life unless you go play in the pros. Whatever. Just don't. And they're still gonna do it. They're still gonna do it. And guys, this is the thing. the betting sites are turning these people in.
Oh yeah, this is not.
Yeah,
Because
but this
they don't
happened,
wanna
by the way,
reward
at
the
Great
sense
American
of-
Ballpark. This happened
Yeah.
at Great American Ballpark.
Because here's
It
the
got
thing.
flagged,
Because
and
here's the
they
thing.
don't want to lose their deals with the
Oh,
leagues.
exactly. Because here's the thing. Any sort of bet, like it goes through like checks. There are moderators on this thing. There's a reason
Yeah.
why. I mean, we joke about this, but there's a reason why the Vegas betting lines are as influential as they are, or at least as like public as they are. They are tightly regulated. These guys, like FanDuel reported, nobody bets games on college baseball games on a Tuesday night against like two
Yep.
Right.
conference like opponents. Like to put
Not
a
the amount of
$5
money that they bet.
right,
Not
which
the
I
amount of
don't,
money.
which I've not been able to see what the amount
They
was. to
didn't
close.
say.
It honestly,
But it was
could've been-
enough
it
to
could've been-
flag it.
It was enough to, even if it was probably $100, they would have started flagging some of this stuff because you just don't. These betting agencies recognize trends better than you and I. I mean, better than you and I possibly could, especially because they're betting guys and it's only numbers. Like they will notice any sort of variation in those numbers and go, oh, yeah, shut it down. I mean,
Yeah.
Here's how fast it was. By the end of the Alabama LSU game, which they lost,
So
four
and
states
he did not
had
get his
already,
money. They froze the bet, by the way.
Yeah, they froze the
it.
bets, and 4 states had already frozen
Yep.
betting, or at least 3. By the time the game was done, that is fast. They don't mess around with this stuff.
No.
So all they were saying, and there's no way to like I was thinking about making like a joke of like, oh, here's how you get around it. You can't get around it. They
No.
will find you.
Yeah.
Yep.
You drop
Don't mess with
$1,000 down on a random Tuesday night baseball game in
a
April,
few minutes before the injury news comes out.
a few minutes before,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to go, oh, yeah, this is bad. Jail.
Yeah.
Straight
Right.
to jail.
This isn't just, this whole thing is not just, I'll bet on the Sixers to do whatever. That's fun. This is a multi-billion-dollar business.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so there are, yes, Josh, as you
Yes.
very well
This
outlined,
isn't
precautions.
This isn't
and-
you and your friends,
Yeah.
and like y'all got like a little pot for your
Right.
March Madness. This is this can make or I mean, this can make or break whole seasons, especially when it's insider like this.
Yeah.
Especially when now again we've not. So this is all alleged. We should probably say this is all alleged. We are still figuring out what specifically happens. I was obviously enough to warrant a firing.
Right.
So there is some
it
probable
seems
cause.
fairly cut and dry with a
However-
firing that quickly.
Right. That being said, we don't know specifically what happens.
Yeah.
At the same
I
time,
will say-
you cannot risk this stuff.
Yeah, it does make me feel better as a sports fan. Not that I want people to be stupid and make these mistakes, but in a way, it does make me feel good that the integrity is being protected very critically. Like they're not messing around because there's a million sports books. So if they're like going to affect the integrity of the game, the NFL will cut them in a moment. The NBA or MLB or college base like NCAA, they will cut these partners immediately and not think twice about it because there's somebody else in the other room that they can go hire. So these betting agencies are protecting their partners. They're going to continue to protect them. They want to protect their own interests. So if you're worried about games being rigged, I think we honestly can feel fairly good about it being protected very, very well and very stringently. So that part of it's good, but
Yeah.
we're going to be talking a lot more about this. Unfortunately, it'll continue to come out. So
Yep.
brace yourselves, everybody.
Yeah.
Or
Well, there's
don't
other
brace
stuff that's
yourselves
happening.
and don't bet.
Yeah, there you go. There's other things that are happening in sports. The Kentucky Derby happened. That was also not a scandal, but some weird stuff happening there. We'll maybe talk about it at another time. The NHL playoffs are continuing. The Kraken are leading the Stars in the series that in the series that Josh is completely emotionally torn about. So, Josh,
am
we both
so-
mourn with you and celebrate however this series goes.
Follow your heart.
Follow my heart. My heart always goes towards cool. My heart does 2 things. It goes towards cool mascots. I will always support teams like Kraken.
See, there you
Yeah.
go.
But I love supporting home teams. That's the whole thing in the
And
baseball
follow your
song.
voice, and your voice sings sea shanties. So the Kraken win.
There you go.
I can literally hold on. Watch this. Yeah, I can look at American Airlines from here. Like I can't just abandon the team of the city I moved to 3 years ago.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just because some
what
guy
I'm
with a
hearing is
cooler
it's
name
not a
comes in.
lose-lose, it's a win-win. That's what
It's
I'm
a
hearing.
win-win.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
I will say the Kraken have scored a ton of goals in that series against what I would have told you was the best goalkeeper left in the playoffs in Ottinger.
Absolutely.
Wow. Crazy.
Seattle's gone from like, sneaking in to they have fully earned their position and their rights
That's
to be where
NHL
they are.
playoffs, man.
Playoff hockey. Insane.
NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Nothing
Playoff
like
hockey's
it.
a different breed.
I don't understand how in a 7-game series it can be this wild. It literally makes no sense. Like that's the whole point of this series. I love it though. Don't we all love it? I mean, you're down 3-0 and you're like, who knows?
Right.
You
Who
never
knows?
know. This is why, I mean, and playoff hockey is so much fun. Remember that one time that the Blue Jackets were good for like a hot 4-game
2
streak?
weeks. Yeah. It was amazing.
And like the only series we've ever won. And the only set of games we've won, pretty much.
Okay,
we technically did beat Toronto in the bubble in 2020 in the best of 3.
Doesn't count. Does not count.
Does it not count because it's a best of 3, or does it not count because of Toronto?
Mickey Mouse.
Oh, come on.
Playoff.
Get out of here.
Win.
That's the dumbest excuse ever.
Cool. Remove LeBron's.
Yeah, that's so dumb. The bubble was way harder of a championship to win. Don't even get me started.
Aaron, I completely agree with you. You know I do, but I gotta pull out of NBA Twitter.
Yeah. Yes. NBA Twitter.
Josh, real quick,
Elon Musk another $8 and sit down.
Yeah. Oh boy, don't get me started there. Josh, did you? I have not seen a highlight. I have no concept of what happened, but there was an F1 race in Miami. The reason I bring that up is because you're kind of the one of the 3 of us following F1 the most. Also, because I was in Vegas and there was a ton of construction because they're having a race in November. But if you didn't see it, that's totally fine because I have no idea what happened. But
unfortunately, did not. I heard that it was not the greatest overall.
Okay.
One, people were making jokes online about it being like, oh, interesting.
A Mickey Mouse race.
Ferrari. Ferrari did that again, but Ferrari is one of the worst run teams right now. Ferrari is honestly like a meme within the F1 community. They are one of the worst. Like, there's just like with any other sport, and especially now with all the regulations, there's tire changes, there's driver changes. Like they're running like very limited fuel. You got to be very careful with your boost and all of that. There's all these cool little video game things they've added. Not video game things. All the F1 fans just yelled at me.
That's okay.
All 3 of them who listen to this show.
Yeah.
Just
we
for
do
the
have
F1
some
commentary.
F1 fans, by the way.
We do. Thank you for
we'll
coming.
mostly insult you, but we'll also bring up your sport. So here we go. Well, is it a sport? That's a whole debate.
Got it. Cool. Aaron's on my side. You said sport, and the live feed will not lie.
All right.
Even if editing Aaron takes out sports and replaces it with an equally as smooth. What is it then?
Event.
It's a race.
It's a race. Yeah.
Event.
It's a race.
3-hour series of hours. Yeah. Now the only thing I was really seeing is Ferrari is doing what Ferrari normally does, which is mismanage the heck out of their team. These guys are dumping so much money into their team just to be the. It's a joke franchise. I love it. I think it's hilarious because Ferrari is one of those blue bloods.
So Chelsea or the New York Yankees.
Exactly. I mean,
Brilliant.
Ferrari is one of the original. Like, Ferrari does not like selling cars. They sell cars to fund their racing. They are a racing first brand. Cars are just vehicles to get some more money in, and so they're dropping all this money on R&D and marketing just to get a bunch of rich people to buy these dumb cars, and they can't even use that money to put together a usable team. And I love it. Yeah,
that's good. A couple other things. Well, actually, just the one that I had on my list, the EPL. Johnny mentioned. That's we will get it to next week because I know I can already tell it'll still be going on, but we are nearing the end, and Johnny is drawing ever more nervous as each passing day. So
it's a tight race right now, everybody. 1 point separating Man City and Arsenal. Now, there's a game in hand there too, but Man City is playing Real Madrid both legs of their Champions League in between. So there is a chance that they get a little distracted.
Fatigued, perhaps.
Yes. Fatigued. But hats off to Erling Haaland. He is absolutely destroying all the scoring records in the EPL in his first year at 22 years old.
Jeez.
The star Norwegian that I pray to God will be at the next World Cup. Him and Martin Odegaard will be brilliant with Norway. That'd be a blast. But yeah, just quick on that, and we'll talk a little bit more about EPL next week because it'll still be a big race to the finish line there. Arsenal probably needs to be perfect, but there's opportunities for Man City to slip up.
Yeah. All right. I feel like this show has been a little too positive. Maybe you haven't felt that way. I have. It's time for Straight to Jail.
We've not yelled at each other enough. Let's go.
Yeah,
Well,
I think we're going to be yelling with each other because I am sending. Now, look, before I say who I'm sending to jail, I realize the date on the calendar says May 8th. We still have over 3 months until college football happens. We still have over a year until the chaos of 2024 happens, where we have USC, UCLA in the Big Ten. And most notably, and most regrettably, we see the college football playoff expand in 2024. It's already bad. If you have listened to this show any amount of time, I will spare you my usual rant. But there's new details that I can add to the rant that make me dislike college football expansion even more. And that is because we have the schedule for the 2024 expanded college football playoff. So let me give it to you. It starts with the reminder, the top 4 teams get a bye. We get some campus site games. That's the one specific area of this expansion. Great. That's good. That's awesome. 1 game Friday, December 20th. Perfect. 3 games Saturday, December 21st. Awesome. They're all going to have their own window. That's perfect. Then we're going to have a quarterfinal game. Tuesday, December 31st will be the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. New Year's Eve. Absolutely perfect. The Rose Bowl, January 1st. Absolutely perfect. We're doing great. And then we have... Oh, what's this? A semifinal on Thursday, January 9th? That's disgusting. We have a semifinal on Friday, January 10th. That's a little less bad. And then you have a championship on Monday, January 20th.
Always. It's just always terrible.
I understand the NFL is playing at the same time. And maybe this is the best solution, but you're telling me, in the theory, the third most important game of the season will be on a Thursday night. Now, don't get me wrong, I watch college football almost every Thursday night. That's not the issue. It's the fact that 2 of your 3 biggest games of the season, the semifinal on Thursday and the championship on Monday. Why? We just had this with college basketball, right? You had the 9 p.m. Eastern time Monday night start for the championship. That's just the worst. Like, you're telling me you couldn't negotiate with the NFL maybe the answer is you couldn't. But you're telling me you couldn't negotiate with the NFL one bit to get a championship game Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, something. It just, the Thursday semifinal, oh my gosh, that's the worst. I don't know. That's all I have to say. Straight to jail, the people that expanded the playoff and then the people that thought of this schedule.
Aaron, real quick, because I'm not actually not in jail this week. I've had a rather pleasant week, actually. So no one's going to jail.
Nice.
This is just the schedule also for 24 and 25. And I only know this because I am a total nerd and listen to college football podcasts, again, as Aaron said, on May 8th. This is also partially because they have television contracts in place with a lot of bowls. And so their hands are somewhat tied for these 2 years. So let me just, if I can bring some positivity to this, which I know is not supposed to be allowed on Straight to Jail.
That's okay.
It is just for these coming 2 years. And they were not able to put things probably exactly where they would have wanted to partially with their predetermined deals already done with bowls and conferences and when things are scheduled. Personally, if I could just, again, expansion's already happened. It's happened. I've accepted it at this point. We need to move up the college football schedule. Just move it up and have the title game on January 1st.
Thank you.
I would love to have it in the Rose Bowl every year.
Yes.
I would just love the national title game to be the Rose Bowl.
Thank you.
January 1st. I can't take full credit for this. I heard it from Joel Klatt first, and I absolutely love the idea. January 1st is synonymous with college football. It is college football. Move the season up. Stop giving break for finals. FCS doesn't. So why do the bigger schools use the excuse? That doesn't make any sense. Move it up. Don't give such a big gap in between the end of the season and the playoff beginning, especially now that you've expanded. And let's end on January 1st.
Thank you.
Let's just end on January 1st every year. Because also, Aaron, the one thing that you mentioned that's also terrible about this is you're just getting deeper into the NFL season.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a harder time competing. That's why the games are on Thursday and Friday. Move the season up. You're not going to win a competition with the NFL. You won't. You just won't. It's the same sport, and they're the professional league. Move it up. Be done January 1st. Then you're done before the NFL playoffs even begin. You give more time, break off before spring ball even begins. It fixes your calendar. This is simple. Let's do it. So I guess maybe I am throwing somebody into jail because they won't do that, and they want to just make the season longer and longer. So whoever is not going to do that, you'll go in jail, predetermined jail. You're going in there before you've made the decision, because I know you're going to. So, okay, I did have someone in jail.
Thank you, John.
Go ahead, Josh.
Straight to jail works in magical ways, I must say.
Straight to jail is beautiful. Mine's not a big deal, but my straight to jail is Indiana.
Just the state?
It's the state, but specifically the people in charge of, the people working for the Department of Transportation. I drove through Indiana, as many people do, as most people do. Crossroads of America, really.
Hey, people they're at least self-aware.
They know. They're at least self-aware. You know what? The self-awareness, that's to get out of jail free. If you live in Indiana and you go, I get it, get out of jail free. It's like Nebraska's tourism slogan.
Oh, Nebraska. I saw it and I laughed. I can't remember.
Nebraska. It's not for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, this is perfect. They know. There's great things in Nebraska, but they get it. Love them. Out of jail free card, Nebraska. Good on you guys. You know. Driving it on Interstate 70 through the Indiana part, they will sometimes shut down the roads to make them better. That is good. I support infrastructure investments. That way my car does not blow out a tire on the road. Please repave every now and then. Do not randomly drop lanes, like just go down to like 2 lanes or 1 lane and put concrete dividers on either side, because then when the inevitable idiot slams into the back of another vehicle, it does stop traffic for 3 hours. Perhaps this past week. And you can't get around it. You have to just sit there and wait for them to figure their crap out.
Josh, this sounds terrible if it would have happened to you.
I'm glad it didn't.
If it had happened to me on the way to Ohio, I would have been extremely upset. If it had happened 3 times, I would have been even more upset.
It's a good thing that didn't happen.
Thankfully, it only happens twice.
Yeah.
I love driving for 5 hours in just Indiana. Everyone loves that.
Yeah. Wow.
Straight to jail, their Department of Transportation. Put the cones on. That way I can drive around them. Thank you.
No arguments here. I mean, you can tell when you... So my in-laws live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, that area. So far west of the state. So we go, usually my wife and I, if we're going there, we go Fort Wayne, Indiana. You can tell immediately when you get to Indiana because, number one, the speed limit is 10 miles per hour less for absolutely no reason. And the roads are significantly worse right away. So
it is a trick.
Yeah.
You know why they dropped the speed limit?
Because your car would fall apart if they didn't?
they want you to stay in the state for just a little bit
Oh.
longer. This is the only way they can do it.
It's like we're in a Meijer, or sorry, I'm from the Midwest, a
Myers.
Kroger's or an Aldi's possessive, right? And that's why the bread and milk are in the back. You know how this works. So, all right, straight to jail. Thanks, guys. I'm going to try to run through picks of the week because, again, I know you're staring at the length of this episode, but we're having tons of fun, and I hope you are too. So hopefully you don't even care about something like that. And we're just giving you more minutes on Spotify, so your Spotify Wrapped will be that much cooler when you boast about it to all your friends in like 6 months. And hopefully we're your top podcast. If you are, retroactively in 6 months, share about it, I guess. Okay. Picks of the week.
We're sorry.
Yeah, also sorry. Last week, Josh, you picked the New Jersey Devils to win Game 7, and in fact, they did, much to the surprise of Johnny and I. So I still have 60 points, but thankfully I'm still in first. Johnny, you've got 55. Josh, you moved up to 54, so second place is really up for grabs. Tonight, actually in 8 minutes, so maybe for the first time ever, we'll make a pick and then actually know the result on the same episode. I don't know if that's possible. We'll find out.
They'll make it.
Yeah, they will. Tonight, the NHL Draft Lottery is happening. Yes, the event where they will randomly select ping pong balls that are not at all rigged. And the question is, which team is going to get the first pick? I'm saying Chicago. They have the third best odds, ahead of Anaheim and ahead of my beloved but beleaguered Columbus Blue Jackets. Johnny, I'll let you rant about this more because you feel even more strongly. I just know that nothing good can ever happen to my professional sports teams, except maybe the Lions. But there's still a whole season to be played there. So I'm just assuming the Blue Jackets could have actually had that top percentage, which I think is 17% as opposed to 12. But let's just say none of those teams. Let's give the Blackhawks with 7% chance. I'm taking Chicago. The Connor Bedard sweepstakes, if you will. But Josh, what are you thinking?
I'm going to use all of my positive goodwill and just optimism and naivety, frankly, to look at the 13.5% odds the Blue Jackets have and go, you know what? Go ahead and waste another pick. Win this draft lottery and just ruin this player like you do everybody else.
That was so positive, Josh. Thank you.
It's great.
Yeah. So why the stakes are so high? Obviously, you always want the number one pick, but the number one pick this year is Connor Bedard, who is supposed to be potentially this generation's Wayne Gretzky. He's supposed to be can't miss prospect. So good. Franchise changing. For that reason, there's no way on earth that the Columbus Blue Jackets will get the number one overall pick and take Connor Bedard. If by some witchcraft the Columbus Blue Jackets do get the number one pick, they'll either A, not pick him for some reason, or two, pick him and the man will unfortunately get in an traffic accident on the way to his first game in Columbus.
I-70.
For Connor Bedard's sake, part of me doesn't want him to come to this franchise. They will ruin him. The fan base deserves it. The franchise itself is in the front office, does not. So it won't be the Blue Jackets. It'll be Chicago. They would love to see him in a big market. It's probably going to be Chicago. Anaheim has the best odds, but I'll go with Chicago, but I'd bet a lot of money on it just not being the Blue Jackets.
Yep. We'll see. Again, that in theory happens within a 30-minute time span between 8 and 8:30 as we are talking about what we're following. It is 7:55. We'll see how long they draw this thing out. Guys, I can start. 2 football-related things. Again, I don't know how we ended up talking so much football on May 8th, but I guess that's what you get with our podcast. Number 1, I am pleased to announce the greatest team ever is back. They're undefeated. I am, of course, talking about the team that you are legally required to root for as a listener of this podcast. I am, of course, talking about the New Orleans Breakers, who are 4-0 in season 2 of the USFL. So you love to see it. Couldn't name a player on the roster, but that doesn't change the fact that I am a diehard fan.
I like every post. I am a big supporter of whoever those guys are.
Yep. Gotta love them.
Gotta love that group of guys.
Yeah. They're killing it. 4-0. I don't know when the playoffs are. I know nothing about it, but they're 4-0, and it's because we're
4-0.
rooting for them. I think something
We'll
like that.
find out at some point. Listen, whenever their social media team says, "Hey, playoffs are happening," and we got the number 1 seed or the bye or however their playoffs work, we'll
Right.
go great. Or if there even is a playoffs, I'm assuming there is.
Maybe it's like the EPL and they just win.
Maybe they just win.
That'd be cool.
Right now.
That's not the only football news. There's lots other things, but one of the items happening this week, if you are one of those people that just loves football, you're like, I get it. Basketball, hockey, baseball, whatever. Just get me to football season. Well, there's a little glimmer of hope on Thursday because you get the NFL schedule release. Now, there's a couple of kind of new items that are coming your way on Thursday for this NFL schedule. Number 1, games don't necessarily, quote unquote, belong to networks anymore. By the way, I'm reading a tweet from Adam Schefter. So credit to him for this. And what do I mean by that? It means the AFC won't always be on CBS. It means the NFC won't always be on Fox.
Praise God.
Yeah, Johnny, that might relieve you of some Tony Romo calls for your beloved
Thank
Bengals.
Goodness.
Another thing, and I think this is the worst, we'll probably put someone straight to jail for this at some point, but teams can be on Thursday Night Football twice. That is the worst.
Why?
Because let's be honest, there probably shouldn't be Thursday Night Football at all. If we actually cared about player and health and safety, different rant for different time. Not all teams are guaranteed to have a primetime spot. I actually didn't think they were guaranteed. Maybe they were guaranteed before. I know the Lions.
They were guaranteed one.
They were, okay. So I guess the Lions.
Thursday night counts, though.
Well, correct.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. But the big news, and by big, I mean it's not actually that big, but we're going to make it a bigger deal than it really is. The NFL will have a Black Friday game for the first time ever. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because number 1, you should not watch this game because Black Friday typically brings the Egg Bowl, Iowa, Nebraska. Like if you're come on, Iowa, Nebraska, what more could you possibly want on Black Friday? But my thought is this, guys. I think the NFL needs to play into this whole Iowa, Nebraska thing or the Egg Bowl where just absolute chaos reigns. You have players celebrating like a dog peeing on the field and costing their team the game. Like Friday night, Black Friday has some of the best rivalries in college football, but it's just absolute from noon to midnight sickos football. Just packed.
Yeah.
So, NFL, do the right thing and put the most sickos game possible on Black Friday. Now, we could get even more sicko and say, hey, people are up at 5 and 6 a.m. shopping. Just have it at 6 a.m. But again, player health and safety. I get it. No one wants to do that. But guys,
forget it, Aaron. You're brilliant. Brilliant idea.
All right, 6 a.m. kick. Eastern time. West Coast, just stay up, I guess. What is the most sickos NFL matchup this year? I feel like the Buccaneers are in that conversation. And maybe the
Colts.
Yeah, the Colts feel pretty sicko. Colts, Bucks. Ooh, that's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what I'm following.
Good.
I'm following that the NFL should make the most sickos matchup ever. If you think there's a matchup in the NFL this year that is more sickos than Colts Bucks, let us know on Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, shout out to the Sickos Committee. You should follow us first, but follow them second. Or honestly, switch those. Sickos Committee, you deserve. You could just have this podcast if you want it. That's okay. They're the best.
They bevel everything, and that is honestly better than half of our podcast.
It is.
Times.
They beveled the Atlantic Sun bracket that we made, and I've never been happier in my life. That's not true.
It was fantastic.
But that was top 3 moment in my life. The beveled Atlantic Sun bracket.
I couldn't make a better joke than them just beveling a bracket.
All right, that's
Josh,
I'm
I'm gonna go since I'm kind of similar along the same lines of Aaron. You can cap us off properly.
With
mine's just a real quick wheel around. Spring college football is over, so I just want to give everybody a quick update on things that have happened because now with the transfer portal and NIL, more stuff is going on than ever before. So, we're about informing you guys, and we don't want you guys to get to the last weekend of August and be like, wait, what the heck? That guy's on this team.
Mm-hmm.
That'll still happen, but we'd like to, mitigate that as much as we can. So some news and kind of one of the storylines that we'll probably see the entire season is the big three, if you will, in college football. And by that, I mean Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. And I think it's really kind of fair to put it that way. They, as opposed to last year when they all had their quarterbacks returning, are all breaking in new quarterbacks. And it doesn't seem like any of the three teams are very sure on who they want. Alabama just went and got Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame in the transfer portal. So, and that's after spring football's over. And they've had these guys in the locker room already. They went through all spring football and they go this late to get Tyler Buckner. That's very telling and concerning if you're Alabama. This might be the first time that they start in the preseason outside of the top three, maybe even outside of the top five. Ohio State's not sure either. Brown has the broken finger, so he wasn't able to play in the spring game. Kyle McCord, though, if he was showing what the team wanted, probably would have already been named the starter, and that's concerning. Georgia, we're just not hearing a lot about what's going on in Georgia. Those two might be wonderful options, but Stetson Bennett was there for 10 years. So,
True.
That's going to be new for Georgia to break in as well. And so you're seeing all these flawed, but really quality and potentially great teams kind of rising up this year. You have Penn State because they have returning quarterbacks and steadiness at coach. So be on the lookout. Tennessee might not be going anywhere. This might be Penn State's year. Look, Michigan has everybody returning. They're not up and coming. They've been there back-to-back years.
He should
you have
be
USC
able to
with
light the
Caleb
lamp
Williams
with regular.
waiting in the wings. If North Carolina can have a heartbeat on defense, can Drake May do something with them? You have Florida State. You have so many of these like quality teams that are really flawed, but because the big three, if you will, aren't settled at the quarterback position, there's an opening this year. So college football will be a blast. Deion Sanders is running wild in Colorado. I absolutely love that. Go Buffs, man. They're my adopted team, I guess, is my second team. Even before Deion, I love that team. I'm going to be thrilled to see them go like 7-5 this year. It's going to be awesome. So college football is nuts. If you haven't been paying attention to the transfer portal, just like text me and I'll or tweet at me and I'll fill you the biggest names that I can, because it's too much to get into even on this podcast. We could do a whole podcast episode just on players transferring.
Yes.
So Aaron, I was happy you covered that stuff with the playoff. And so that's just kind of what we're going through right now. There's a lot of uncertainty at quarterback with a lot of these teams. And this isn't, even 10, 15 years ago when you can just win with a really good defense and a really good run game. Your quarterback at least has to be pretty good. He can't just be like, I exist. Not anymore. So this might be a really interesting season with Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State breaking in brand new quarterbacks who've taken almost no snaps.
Yeah. Johnny, thanks for that. I'm thoroughly excited for college football. I don't know what it is about today that I don't know, something happened. We're like, football. Because I literally was working out like, all right, because we do this every year. We'll have our team pages out for everybody. If you missed it, if you're a recent listener, Johnny and I have the opportunity to travel to different college football venues and cover these games as media. So we like to think we know a little bit about what we're talking about. So if you are a college football fan, diehard, I encourage you to follow us. If you're just kind of getting introduced to the sport, we'd love to be a resource for you to help you learn, because there's a lot happening and it's only going to get crazier and crazier as we get this expanded playoff and the conferences and all that fun stuff. So give our social medias a follow at Fifth Goal Sports on Twitter, at Fifth and Goal Sports everywhere else. All right, Josh, get us out of this sports podcast. It's time for
I'm going to do
it's
what
time
I
for something
can.
else.
Time for something else. First off, bit of trivia for you.
Ooh.
You guys want to know who the Breakers quarterback is? Who their QB1 is?
Greg McElroy.
Not a bad guess.
At one point, Shea Patterson, I think, was their quarterback. Is he still the quarterback?
I want you guys to throw both of those names directly into the trash because it is McLeod Bethel Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
That guy.
Where did he play college? Do you have that?
Does not matter.
Okay. All right, fine. I'll look it up myself.
1,116 yards in the past 4 weeks.
Not bad.
So good job. That guy looks like a knockoff Fitzpatrick. Love him. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Hey, welcome to Chess Heads. This
Yay.
time I have a Chess Heads proper update for you. The International Chess Governing Body, FIDE, has announced that they have completed their investigation and will release it in October. They have
Oh.
done all the investigation necessary. They were going to release it 2 weeks ago in April, and then decided, no, thank you. We do not want to do that. So they are going to wait until October or until it gets leaked because they are waiting for the lawsuit that I talked about to blow over. There's currently that $100 million defamation lawsuit that
Yeah, just that one.
that Hans Niemann filed against Magnus Carlsen and Chess.com because he has now essentially been blacklisted from many of the international friendlies and even the actual like big competitions. So, Chess Heads update. I'll let you know in like 7 months what happens, or 5 months. It's not that far. So
It's gonna feel like
But,
that far though.
it's gonna feel like forever, or until it gets leaked. It'll most likely get leaked. I do not know who runs FIDE. I cannot imagine they are running the same level of security scrutiny as, the NFL. So we'll see. Could get leaked. Could be fun. Here's the thing I wanted to tell you guys about. Real quick, and as I know we're at a long podcast. What are your guys' go-to Chinese takeout orders? You're going to Panda.
Sesame
What are
beef.
you getting?
I love Panda Express is
Sesame
the
beef.
gospel, man.
All the way.
Sesame beef.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's fun.
So I always get I rarely get a bowl. I always get a plate because I need two. I gotta choose two of the meats. And I always get orange chicken and then I rotate the other one.
Okay.
So
Ooh,
I
you
like
gotta-
getting
you
some
gotta-
teriyaki chicken.
yeah.
The sesame's good, Aaron. Even you know what? Even that walnut shrimp was not bad. You can't go wrong at Panda. Panda is great.
Panda's great.
And fried rice is the answer for the base too. So you know,
you
Yeah.
are correct.
I have to pretend like I'm eating some vegetables. Fried rice allows me to do that.
You got some veggies in there. Now, none of us would admit on this show, on or off the air, that Panda is authentic, original Chinese food that they brought over. But it is an emulation of it. And you can see where they would have gotten the original ideas from. Since we've been on Cake Talk, since we've been on like weird food TikTok, my For You page has been showing me Chinese takeout from the UK.
Oh,
So
no.
technically a takeaway. But they don't even call it. We would call it like, oh, Chinese takeout, or we go get Chinese food. They just say, oh, I'm gonna get a Chinese. That's what it is. That's how they call it. It's fine.
Chinese.
Get a Chinese. They would
That's
say that if they were
uncomfortable.
gonna get. It sounds weird because they would say that about anything. If they're gonna get Indian food, they would say, oh, I'm gonna get an Indian, get a Greek. This is bad, guys. I know that you guys invented English or whatever, but we perfected it. Please use our phrasing.
I know you imperialized all of those places. That doesn't give you the right
Does not
to speak that way.
use all the possessives. But I'm gonna just list off. And so I looked at a few UK Chinese food menus. That's what I was doing like the past 10 minutes, just to make sure I could be accurate in my reporting. They have some similar things that we do over here. Again, it's all an emulation of what was originally over in China itself, and it's just been modified. Okay, I'm giving them too much grace. Do you know what the number one food is that everyone seems to
stop.
get?
If you say fortune cookies.
Chips. Or, as we call
That-
it here, French fries.
No,
What?
jail. This should have been your jail segment.
wanted to
This
save
is
it. I wanted to
Chinese
save it.
food.
They get
I love potatoes.
They
You
get
can't
salt-
do that.
They get salt pepper chips with what looks like some peppers and onions thrown in for the mix. No sauce on it. They get what they call chicken balls, and we're 100% just got taken off of Spotify. They get chicken balls, which look like unsauced boneless wings, chicken nuggets. They're like those frozen boys you get in like a pack of like a billion at like a
What?
Sam's Club or whatever.
Sure, I like those,
Unsauced.
but not as Chinese food.
Unsauced, by the way.
Oh gosh.
Looks like some of them are getting lo mein or chow mein. Chow mein seems to be more popular over there. I saw someone have a chicken chow mein, which is fine, but like it was just a little. That was the one authentic thing. They have what they call salt pepper chicken, which is just chicken fried in some and topped with some salt and pepper. No sauce again. Notice the theme. What they will do,
No,
and I'm
no
gonna
sauce,
send you.
no flavor,
Don't you
no,
wait?
no.
Don't you wait? Don't you worry. There's a twist. And then I saw someone with some spicy shredded beef, just like the beef in whatever sauce it comes in. That was the one thing I saw sauced. And this is also, they have more things on their menu. I am only seeing all the TikTok, like the UK TikTok influencers pulling out their orders. Now, everything I've just mentioned, Johnny, put that all on the same plate. Everything.
Because of course it is. Of course it's all
Now,
on the same plate.
It's all on the
Because
same plate.
Brits don't know how to make food.
Now, they also would throw. They also get like their like so our like free thing is usually the fortune cookies. Their free thing is prawn crisps or whatever. I don't even know. I don't even want to get into it.
What?
I don't know. I don't know, Johnny. If you're listening in the UK, first off, sorry, it's soccer. Two,
True.
Please explain why. Please explain why you do what you do. So they throw all of
Yeah.
this on. I saw some like fried seaweed, like some crispy fried seaweed that was like thinly shredded. I'm like, that seems I'll give that a
Okay.
shot. I don't hate it. Kind of had the consistency of like a fried cabbage or whatever. They throw all of this onto the same big old plate, and it's topped very high. It's two types of chicken. It's like this weird chow mein stuff. It's salt and pepper chips, and then, and as most people, they will throw this big like. You get like a takeaway. It's a takeaway, a takeout of like like a wonton soup or something like that little half size. They will
Yeah.
pour that entire thing of that of sweet and sour sauce all over the top. It is this thick ketchupy looking stuff.
Okay, I do love sweet and sour sauce, so.
And then, and I knew you did because I'm going to make you angry. And then on the same plate,
Oh, no.
over top, they pour a thing of curry sauce. It's just this yellow thick
Together?
sauce together, and then mix it. And they call that a Chinese. And I am so ashamed of my heritage. I took an Ancestry.com test. I am like 95% British.
Mm.
The other 5% is the part of Germany that I know my ancestors fled from. I'm going to do that again. I took an Ancestry.com test. I am 95% British. The 5% is the part of France that I know my family would have fled from during the Norman invasion. So I am 100% British, essentially, and I am never been more ashamed to know that in my life than to see these Chinese takeouts. I'm going to send you guys videos on Twitter. You guys are going to be upset. I'm too late. I'm already doing
it's
it.
going to make me too angry.
It is. I'm
It's-
sorry.
It wasn't enough for them to have the just acknowledged worldwide worst food culture.
Yeah.
Is there an argument? I don't think anyone
No.
argues with that. How do you conquer a quarter of the world? You controlled India, for crying out loud. How do you not have spices and sauces?
They had
How
curry
do you have
sauce.
no flavor? How do you ruin Chinese food? You all should be ashamed of yourselves. Ashamed.
Love it.
Ashamed.
It's just another variation of like fish and chips for them, essentially.
Yes. I love the heck out of French fries. Potatoes might be my favorite. Not Chinese food, though. That's not Chinese food. And also, Josh, if you're including Northern Ireland, their food is definitely better than the rest of Britain. So I'm not going to throw Ireland in there, but
No, Ireland's at least got a distinct.
I don't know what Wales eats, but England itself, shame on you. Shame on you, England.
Yeah. Look, I am white. I am sure I probably underseasoned just about everything, but I would never commit the atrocities that I'm hearing. Would never. I would just like that. I would just like that to go on the public
I
record.
would simply refuse. Yeah.
I think the UN needs to get involved.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No. Brexit means they don't have to listen to anybody anymore.
That's true.
Briggs, it means more chips for everyone.
That's actually why they did that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if I stall long enough, this NHL draft lottery is going to hit. They've announced the top, well, from 16 to 7. I'm sure they'll cut to commercial around 3. I will say, back to what we were talking about in the NBA playoffs, Jokic was not suspended. He was fined. So good. I mean, I don't even know if he should have been fined for it, but clearly not suspended. So I think we're good there. All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Fifth Angle Podcast. Unless I stall long enough and there's a good reaction to us seeing the NHL draft lottery, I will put that here. If not, have a good week, guys. All right. I'm keeping my recording.
Aaron, for editing.
I'll stay recording now.
I'll stay recording just because we're at number 5 Montreal. So we're top 4.
Okay.
Number 4 is the Sharks. We're top 3.
Okay.
I think this has literally gone like just literally the percentage so far. Yeah.
I mean,
so Chicago, Blue Jackets, Ducks are left.
Okay. Chicago Blue Jackets.
Okay.
It'll be Ducks, Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I think we're about to go to commercial here, which is unfortunate, but
I like this tweet. We were just talking about England. If I was the king of England, I'd just abolish Parliament and plunge the country into another monarchist civil war. What are they going to do? Take away the last 5% of my power?
Yeah.
I like this tweet. I like this chaotic tweet. See, everybody, this is some insight into my Twitter. I have the drama of NBA Twitter, and then I also have people who just enjoy setting the world on fire. So,
Stupid commercial.
And horrible food takes, apparently, too. Horrible food takes.
Horrible food takes.
What's with the whole presidents as football coaches happening right now? Like, what is that?
Yeah. It's everyone trying to get us used to AI, and I refuse to take part.
AI's evil.
The amount of people who are like, "Oh, here's if Bruno Mars sang that new what was that new Miley Cyrus song Flowers?" I just saw like, "Oh, hey, here's a Bruno Mars saying that." Look, well, he could just I hate everything. I do not like AI. I'm literally writing a paper on my reflecting on what I did at South by Southwest, and most of it was just AI based. And so I'm going to have a nice 2 or 3 page rant about how AI is the worst, and it's dumb, and no one should. So I'm just going to send you this tweet as well, guys. This is the best. List of songs banned by the BBC. I aspire to this level of petty.
Pettiness is great.
Pettiness is great.
I didn't even mention Florida. I meant to mention their quarterback problem. They don't have a quarterback, so that's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Florida's going to be a dumpster fire this year.
Cannot wait.
I really liked Billy Napier when they hired him, but like they don't have one. Like they have Ohio State's 3rd string quarterback from last year, Jack Miller, who was atrocious against Oregon State. Now I know like Oregon State's defense is actually really good, and it's the SEC, so they didn't care. But like he was really bad. And they got Graham Mertz from Wisconsin, and those are their 2 quarterbacks that they have to choose from. So unless Ole Miss's quarterback situation is really fun because it's Spencer Sanders against Jackson Dart, which is crazy, awesome. Dude. Yeah, it's crazy. And they haven't like named a starter, but I'm just like, Spencer Sanders isn't going to, neither one of them is going to sit there and be the backup. They're also just, they're both too good to be a backup. Like they should be playing somewhere.
I mean, Jackson Dart could, I was going to make a USC joke and then like, okay, there's no good way to land a USC joke and Caleb Williams is there. It's like, he would be perfect fit with USC. All right, we are hopefully this is our last commercial.
Did you just send me a list of songs banned by the BBC? Those are the 2 songs.
There's probably more. There's probably more.
Come on. I like to believe those are the only 2 songs that they've banned.
Hold on, they always link the Wikipedia article underneath, so I'm checking right now. List of banned songs. Okay, there's like a billion. There's so many.
No, there's not. Those are the only 2.
Those are the only 2.
That's it.
Yeah, no, they got some random. Oh, what are the? Oh, so there was a bunch. Yeah, so it's a bunch of anti-war songs that came out during the Gulf War. A bunch of ones of "We Don't Like Boris Johnson," and then they banned "Danny Boy" by Conway Twitty. How dare they? This is why we fought for independence. Cannot stand the UK.
All right, here we go.
Okay, here it is.
Number 3. Don't
Number
be
3.
Columbus. Don't be Columbus. It'll be Columbus though.
No, there'll be 2, Aaron. They're gonna be 2.
Yeah,
No, there's gonna be
that
2.
does
They're
feel
going
on
to
brand.
disappoint us.
It's us.
We're gonna
Columbus is number 3. Dang it.
All right, come on.
Uh,
Who did you pick again,
Yep.
Aaron?
no, I picked
Yep.
Chicago.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Have a good week, podcast listeners. We're plummeting into depression.
Again, cursed. Cursed.
Yep.
Comment your cursed team, because I don't know if they're as cursed as the Blue Jackets.
Mm.
Cursed. That was our life preserver
Yep.
that we would have cut in half, but he was our a potential life preserver.
All right. YouTube, get out of here.